All right, Josh. So ahead of your big fight with Ilia Topuria on June 24th, how has your camp been so far with Team Alpha Male? What's kind of changed for you since your last fight with Yair?
Yeah, everything's going according to plan. Everything's going good. I've been in camp for a long, long time. Um, yeah, and it's every fight is it's pretty much the same thing. It's I don't worry too much about my opponents. I watch a lot of film with my coaches and stuff, and we try to pick up on things that they continue to do and that we can capitalize on that they're not going to be able to fix in an 8 to 10 week camp.
Mhm.
So we've done just that. I just changed my training partners up depending on sparring and things like that. So yeah, everything's going great, and I'm ready to just get in there June 24th and get back in the win column.
Absolutely. You said that you've been in camp for a while. Do you stay about fight ready at 145 typically, just a natural weight, or do you have to cut a lot?
Yeah, no, I definitely have to cut. 145 is a tough
Mhm.
cut for me. Even if I had to make 155, it would be challenging to get down to that weight. And just like there's not, I'm always in the gym, so I'm in good shape. But at like the level that I need to be at right before my fight, I kind of peak at the right moment. I feel like mentally, physically, people cannot stay in fight shape, they call it. You can't.
Mhm.
There's no way you can do that year round. Just it's it's too taxing on your body. But I'm always in the gym, always in great shape. But for this, I work with one of the best dietitians in the world,
Mhm.
and I've been so regimented and strict and things like that, and just working with my coaches and yeah, just ready to get in there and of course make the weight first. That's always like the
Yeah.
toughest battle. And then we get to hydrate and eat, and then the next night go in there and have some fun.
Yeah, I was talking with Sage Northcutt actually before his last fight and one about the rehydration rules and all that stuff. Do you feel like it's an advantage with UFC to be able to rehydrate after the weight cut and be able to, get back to more of a natural, more comfortable weight for you?
Yeah, I know with Sage fighting in one, they have different requirements for hydration, and I don't think that's always the best because there is a way to cheat that system. In college, when I wrestled in college, we had hydration that we had to do pretty much the same thing to see how hydrated we are, but we knew that date was coming up, so we'd still cut a ton of weight
Yeah.
before that date, and then we drink a ton of water. So it's like there's ways to kind of cheat it. So it's not as good as it seems to be, in my opinion. But as far as the UFC, there's really no, you can put on as much weight as you would like or as you can, but also you don't want to cut too much weight because it is hard on your body, and it's if you don't know what you're doing or working with a good team, it can be really unsafe.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot in the past. Obviously, with Jorge Masvidal in that 7 week fight where he fought Kamaru that second time, he had that really tough weight cut and stuff. Is it kind of a 2 week plan for you, 3 week plan to cut that weight down? When does it really start for you, the weight cut?
For me, just coming down to 145 pounds, my natural weight would be, you know, high 70s, mid 80s. So it's a lot. So I've been on a strict diet for the last like 10 weeks. I cannot cheat that, just because then, literally every pound, every ounce really matters and counts. So, I'm so disciplined,
Mhm.
and I've been doing that. And then as far as fight week, um, I'm prepping my body to start water loading Sunday and fight week, and then we cut the water, basically just sucking all the water out of my body, letting my body kind of recover, um, and rest as much as possible too, just to get ready for the big fight. So it is, it comes down to a science, and I literally work with like I have everything just implemented like the best team. And
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Team Alpha Male. I'm just talking about my dietitians, my doctors, my coaches, things like that. So I have everything dialed in. I've done this so many times, and this is
Mhm.
just another fight to me. Uh, uh, that's all it really is. Whether I'm the main event, which I am on national television on ABC, or I'm the first fight, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter to me. It's the same routine, same preparation, and yeah, going to be a good outcome.
Absolutely. Obviously, your last fight was a 5 round fight. Now you got another 5 round with Ilia. Does that differ for you and how you prepare for it, longevity wise, in between rounds, in a 5 and a 3 round fight?
Yeah, of course. I would rather fight just a 3 round fight, but 5 round fight, I have to be prepared. So I'm prepared to go 6 5s. I always go above and beyond. So when I'm fighting 3 round fights, I can push hard for 4 hard rounds. When I'm fighting 5 rounds, I can push hard for 6 rounds. Yeah, and with all the preparation and just the hard training, uh, I put so much effort into this, and I get myself tired, and I put myself in uncomfortable positions because training, especially at week camp, is so much more tough than
Mhm.
potentially a 25-minute fight. But those factors do. Um, yeah, everything kind of factors in when you're fighting. 25 minutes. I'm always wearing a heart rate monitor, and we're focusing on how many beats per minute I can drop my heart rate, working on deep breaths, while staying calm, listening to the coaches and stuff like that. So there's a lot that goes into this that people have no idea about.
Yeah, absolutely. So now switching gears to your last fight, obviously in Perth, Australia against Yair. Obviously not the result you wanted, your first loss in 5 years. In that moment, what was going through your mind, just assessing your performance and where you're at?
Yeah, it was just, man, biggest fight of my life. It wasn't my night. It just, the unfortunate thing about MMA is, when we fight, you have to, doesn't matter if you put a 6 week camp in, a 10 or 12 week camp, you have to be on in that moment. Otherwise, nothing matters. I was not on, and it showed. I feel like, it was tough. Like I would have went anywhere in the world, and I said that I would fight anyone in the world, anytime, like anything, just for that opportunity to touch UFC gold.
Mhm.
And do I wish I could have fought Yair in Vegas the following week, or,
Yeah.
or March? 100%. It was just no excuses. Just that I'll say I will not be fighting any big fights, where I have to travel a lot. Yeah, it was tough. Biggest fight and worst I ever felt in a fight.
I know you mentioned before the fight that you didn't really see it as, a title fight. You saw it as more of a number one contender fight because the interim title. Did that, do you feel like, play a factor in your mentality going into the fight and how you assessed it with Yair?
No, not at all. It's kind of just things kind of worked out the way that they were going. We knew he'd come out hard in the first few rounds, and he just throws elusive kicks. That's what he's known for. Um, yeah, and I made a big mistake when I was on top of him in the first round after I hurt him. He threw up a triangle, and I addressed it and passed it by. And he did that same thing in the second, and I just wasn't threatened by it, so I didn't address it.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of cinched it up, changed angles, and it was too late. So just playing that over and over in my mind, it's like it is what it is. I give him, nothing but respect. He's going to fight Volkanovski here July 8th, but yeah, that's I know I can beat him. I know I can beat these guys. I just have to beat a tough opponent in front of me next,
Mm-hmm.
in Ilia Topuria. Otherwise, none of this matters.
Yeah.
But I do want to get right back to where I was at. And with a big statement and a big win over Ilia on the 24th, I do feel that, like, I'm still ranked fifth in the world.
Yeah.
My next fight should be for a title eliminator, or you never know with the state of the division, who's injured, who's ready to go. So many things can happen, and I just have to get by him first, and then we'll
Mhm.
we'll kind of figure it out what's next after that.
Absolutely. And now you have Ilya. Obviously, it's a big challenge for a lot of people. He's undefeated, 13-0. He's kind of ran through most people he's seen in the UFC. What makes you different compared to other opponents that he's faced so far in the UFC?
Yeah, it's a tough fight for him. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He's like, look at our look at our resumes. Like
Yeah.
he's fighting a lot of people on the regional scene with padded records. He's only beat 4 guys in the UFC. Nothing against them; they're all good. The two big names he beat were Ryan Hall and Bryce Mitchell. Those are jiu-jitsu guys.
Mhm.
I'm not a jiu-jitsu guy. He, he's well rounded. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's really well rounded. He's good. He's in this position because the UFC is trying to build him up. He's young, he's
Mhm.
hungry, he's confident. I remember when I was young and undefeated. So I feel like I know how he feels and what he's thinking,
Mhm.
and it's easy to be the hammer all the time when you're just going in there and beating guys up.
Yeah.
He's never been in a fight. He's never been in a fight.
Yeah.
So when him and I, are locked in the octagon cage, like he's gonna learn like, oh man, I've never seen this before.
Hmm.
And I fought so many guys that are similar to his style. He's never fought anyone even close to my style.
Yeah, absolutely. And you last fought Yair, obviously Yair metrics wise, a little bit bigger than you, longer than you. Now you're fighting Ilia, who's kind of a similar body type, similar weight, similar length, all that stuff. Do you feel like you have the advantage because you're kind of fighting someone who's similar to you body wise?
Yeah, like it's like it's hard just because I watch so much tape, so I see what he's done to his opponents. And I give him a lot of respect, but I don't know how it's going to be until I get in there, like I like to get in there. I like to clinch with someone, see how strong they are. I want to see how
Mhm.
fast he is. And it sounds crazy, but I want to get hit by him just to see like it's a fight where I'm going to get hit.
Mhm.
I want to see how powerful he really is. And then once I get his timing down, he's gonna learn how quick. He's gonna learn quick how hard I hit.
Yeah,
And yeah, so it's tough. It's really tough just to kind of predict those things. But it's like, after the fight, I could say it was the easiest fight of my life, or oh yeah, he is really tough.
absolutely. And obviously, it's hearsay. She said, if you win or not, obviously we're going forward. Would you want to have another number one contender fight after this, after beating a guy like Ilya, if it gets to that point?
Yeah, of course, the main goal is to be a UFC champion.
Mhm.
That's why I started fighting a long time ago. I only wanted to fight in the UFC.
Mhm.
I got here. I want to be a world champion. I was so close to, tasting that and touching that, and then
Mhm.
of course unifying it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm doing this. I feel like that's why most people should be doing this. If you don't have uh, a high belief in your if you don't have a belief in yourself, then it's like why are you even doing this? Like I know I can beat these guys. I know exactly where I stack up, so I
Mhm.
just have to go out there and make a statement against Ilya, and then yeah, I want to get back to the title.
Absolutely. Now, switching gears to being, obviously you were raised in Sacramento, born in Phoenix. You've been around Team Alpha Male for a long, long time. What's the experience been like? You going up the ranks here in Northern California? Is it harder, difficult than other places? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I was I don't know. I don't know if it was really tough. I've played sports my whole life. Uh, I've wrestled throughout my life as well,
Mhm.
and at Sac City College. And then I wrestled at the 4-year level at Menlo College in the Bay Area, and I always wanted to do this. So it's like I think it was tough for me just because I only wanted to fight in the UFC. A lot of people just want to fight in other organizations. They don't really mind, but that was my goal from the get go, UFC or bust. And then it was a long, long, hard road.
Mhm.
And, I finally got there, but I was fighting like the toughest, like prospects in the country. Like I was fighting UFC vets. I was fighting people that were released from the UFC, like people that had like 30 pro fights and all these things. And I didn't have that many fights, but
Mhm.
just because of my wrestling background, because of Team Alpha Male, and the opponents I was fighting, no one wanted to fight me, so it was really challenging. But I knew I knew I could get to where I'm at, and at the end of the day, I'm like, I just have to win fights, and everything will kind of fall into place, and I have to be exciting, and that's where. I've worked with my boxing coach Joey Rodriguez for such a long, long time, since I was like 3-0 as a pro, and you know
Yeah.
I fell in love with boxing, and I always have had a love for boxing, and um, you have to be exciting, and I know what the UFC wants to see, and they want to see big knockouts
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and so I did just that, and every time I'm on a fight card, the fans are excited just because they know that it won't be a boring fight. I'm trying to finish the fight with every strike I throw.
Absolutely. And obviously, you're known for your big punching power, but you haven't had a finish in a while. It's been since 2019, I believe, since you've had a finish. Does that play a role in how you prepare for these fights? And is it satisfying still to win, or are you just always looking for that knockout?
Yeah, the win is the most important thing. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it doesn't matter how you win as long as you get your hand raised at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm always looking for the finish and the
Hmm.
the knockout and stuff like that. At least to have an exciting fight. I always want a performance bonus, but I'd much rather have a knockout bonus than a fight of the night, because then it's then it's a pretty competitive fight if you get fight of the night. But hey,
Yep.
that's okay. I've had a few of those as well.
Do you feel like you get put on a different, I don't know, say pedestal, but a more of a fast track to get a bigger name or a bigger fight because you have those knockouts or those, fight of the nights per se? Is that kind of why it's more appealing to get those?
No, I think just because I've had them, and I at the end of the day, I put myself in that position.
Mhm.
I'm always entertaining when I fight. I'm always looking for the finish. I've had big highlight reel knockouts, and if I haven't got those knockouts, we've had fight of the night where it's back and forth, but super exciting and entertaining. So
Yeah.
yeah, the UFC knows what they're getting when they put me on a card. I've never said no to a fight either.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm one of the easiest person or people to work with, they call my manager and they already know the answer, but they have to ask. So I knew Ilya and I would fight eventually, just because they're trying to build him up and do all these things. And so I asked to fight on July 8th, International Fight Week, and they already had different plans for me. So they
Mhm.
offered me him, and I said, sign me up.
What was it about fighting on International Fight Week? Why was that more appealing to you?
It's just a bigger card. I wanted to fight in Vegas for one,
Hmm.
just because I want to stay really close
Yeah.
to California. So I was like, I'll just start fighting in Vegas. Originally, Ilya and I were supposed to fight in Vegas at the Apex this weekend. We were going to be
Yes.
the main event, and then they switched up the date and location
Hmm.
on me. Um, but they did it just because it's a huge card, ABC. So
Yeah.
I think even though International Fight Week will be a huge card,
Hmm.
pay-per-view wise,
Yeah.
there's going to be way more eyes on our fight because we're headlining a ABC card.
Yeah.
It's free TV, and there'll be I feel millions of eyes on this fight.
Yeah. What kind of statement do you think you make finishing a guy like Ilia Topuria to the UFC and to spectators who like the featherweight division but aren't as familiar with number 5, number 6, Josh Emmett, Ilia Topuria? What are you expecting a statement like to be for like regular casual fans?
Uh, I don't know. It's but yeah, I just have to go in there.
Yeah.
Casual fans have a short memory.
Mhm.
Uh, I go in there and just finish and put them away. Um, who knows? Who knows? It's tough, and that's why I don't really like. I don't look too much into all like the comments and stuff like that. Who knows? I just have to go in there and win. So
Mhm.
I really could care less what a lot of people think. I'm doing this for myself, my family, uh, friends, and of course, like fans and people that have been there since the beginning with me. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go in there and beat him, and then figure out what's next.
Absolutely. And obviously you're with Team Alpha Male and have been for a while. And Team Alpha Male is kind of on a big win streak right now. You got Song Yudong, you got Slava Claus, you got different people who are coming off big wins. What's the vibe been around right now with Team Alpha Male and with Uriah?
Yeah, Team Alpha Male always has a good atmosphere, a good
Mhm.
it's a co-op. Everyone kind of helps each other out. It's been one of the best teams in the world for a long, long time. And we just continue to, get big fights and win big fights. And it's just kind of a little, it's like a roller coaster ride, but it's like we've been at the top for so long, over a decade,
Yeah,
and we're just gonna continue to keep improving, getting better, and keep this train rolling.
absolutely. And then bringing it more personal questions for you in terms of obviously you're Sacramento, you're a big Kings fan, like the beam and all that stuff. What was that experience like over the NBA season and going? Did you go to a playoff game? I should ask.
Yeah, I went to a handful of
Good.
playoff games, and then of course Game 7 with the Warriors. I was
Yeah.
hoping for that
Yeah.
that win, but it is what it is. Phenomenal team, phenomenal coaching staff, and Coach Brown got he won the award, right?
Yep.
Best Coach of the Year,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's a young team, so they're doing so well, and I just hope everyone just kind of they'll continue to develop
Mhm.
and advance, and I'm really looking forward to the upcoming season.
Do you feel kind of like a revitalization of downtown Sacramento and the fan base here now that the Kings are doing better and just more people being out and about?
Oh, I do, yeah, and especially with the move that they built Golden One Center in the heart of Sacramento. I just feel like I was always going to um, Kings games when it's Arco to me, not Sleep Train, so it'll always be Arco. And going there, it's like I could see why people they fly into the airport and then they go there. They think that's Sacramento. I'm like, that's Natomas. That's not Sacramento.
No.
But I think it was brilliant that they built Golden One Center
Mhm.
in downtown, and then it brought so much. It just brought so much to the city, and then of course the Kings doing really well as a team. It's just like it is like since what was that the when they made it to the playoffs last. It was I remember it was Robert Ory hit that three. I've always been the biggest fan, and I feel like it was after the the
Mhm.
buzzer and things like
Yeah.
that. I don't know, just so many emotions and stuff like that. I used to be so
Yes.
pissed, but I would always go to the Kings games every single year. I go to games,
Yeah.
but this year was just so much more fun because it's like every away game I was tuning in and watching it on TV, and like it really got me just way more
Yeah.
excited because how well they were doing and how good of a team they were doing, and it got the entire city behind them. And Sacramento has always had the best fans
Yeah.
um, in general. Um, and so it's been nothing but great.
Absolutely. And you've actually fought in G1C twice now. You 2-0 record in G1C. What's that experience been like for you to fight here in SAC?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was a dream come true. I was watching the UFC fights at Arco when I was younger, and I have a picture with a friend and I, and this is before I was even fighting, and I just said one day, like I'll be there, and then I started training and then fighting, and then you know it when they were building the Golden One Center in 2000, my wife and I were driving by
Mhm.
in 2016, and I said, "Oh, one day, like I'm going to fight here," because I was in the UFC at the time.
Yeah.
I had just made my debut on Mother's Day, so I'm like, I'll fight here one day. And
Mhm.
then it came around, and it was December of 2016.
Yeah.
Made it a reality. I was like, that was so much sweeter. So it was the first time the UFC had ever come to the Golden One Center, and I got to fight on that, and the fans were, you know, just electrifying.
Yeah.
And then I did it again in 2019 in June. I believe it was June or July in the
Mhm.
summer. Another amazing fight. So
That's
I've never lost at the Golden One Center. I've never even lost a fight in Sacramento.
yeah.
Uh, and so it's yeah, it's just I'm hoping the UFC comes back to Sacramento sometime soon,
Mhm.
maybe the end of the year, maybe next year. But if that's the case, you better believe I'll be headlining that card.
Absolutely. And what do you make of the Sacramento fight scene here? Obviously, it's more of a niche crowd, but do you see it being a big wig like other fight cities?
Oh yeah, of course. It's like who doesn't love the UFC or just MMA in general and boxing, you know what I mean? So I was fighting on the regional scene for West Coast Fighting Championship, and it was based out of Sacramento. It was a great feeder league to these bigger organizations, and they kind of prepped us for everything. We did, all the media stuff. We did press conferences. Really had a great production, and I would personally, because I'm from here, I would sell so many tickets. So we were fighting at McClellan Air Force Base, and there'd be like 8,000 people in this hangar. It was like this intimate thing. It was so crazy and loud. To this day, I've like the
Mhm.
company went out of business after my last fight because I
Yeah.
fought on it so frequently,
Mhm.
and I would sell so many tickets. They never had another show after that. But
Mhm.
yeah, anytime like the UFC comes to Sacramento, it's always a blast, and you see how excited the fans and people are around town, and um, yeah, it definitely. It's just Sacramento has the best fans. I don't care what sport. We have Sac Republic, we have the Kings,
Yeah.
the UFC fights. We have so much going on here,
Mhm.
and anytime there's a big sporting event, that they really show out.
It's funny. I think I was actually going to King. I don't know if you fought in King of the Cage, but I was going there to see you fight in Orville, I believe, in like 2017. It was right before you got signed. You got signed, and then that fight never happened. So that's kind of a full circle thing to think about. You were on this regional scene for so long, and
Mhm.
now you're fighting in Sacramento for the UFC in front of a big crowd. But do you prefer those intimate, venues over like big crowds?
No, I like the fans, like especially the Sacramento fans. So anytime, like I like fans just in general because it's I feed off the energy. It kind of gets me hyped up a little bit, and then if I'm going in for the kill and they're just cheering me on, it really does help me push a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, regardless of a fight's a fight. So if I was fighting and there was nobody,
Hmm.
which I fought during COVID. I was the third, um, fight in at the
Yeah.
Apex
Hmm.
during COVID, and that was weird. That was there was no one in the hangar, no fans at all. It was just like coaches, commentators, Dana, and the brass, and it was silent. It was a dark, cold, silent
Yeah.
hangar, and I'm fighting a person absolutely like silent. So it's kind of eerie. My coaches, because how hard we were hitting each other and just the sound and everything like that. So for me doing that to fighting in front of, I fought in Europe a handful of times, and they've had some bigger arenas where it's like 30,000
Yeah.
people to Golden One and all the other arenas around the US. So it really doesn't matter, but I prefer the Sacramento fans, and I
Yeah.
do prefer the fans.
Absolutely. And then bringing it to more hobbies and what you do, I noticed you got into card collecting, I believe, into sports card collecting. And the story of when you were in New Zealand, you got your one of one Black Prism.
Yeah,
I saw that story. I kind of wanted to hear your perspective on it because I saw the one side of it. But how did that come about?
yeah. So I was always a huge fan of like collecting sports cards
Hmm.
as a young kid, especially basketball.
Yeah.
Like basketball was my thing, and to this day, I still have so many. I've looked at my cards. I got like Iverson, Dunk, and
Yeah.
like Kobe. I have all these rookies and stuff like that. But when the UFC was, they brought out their cards, and of
Mhm.
course that I have, I'm on them. So some of my best friends and my little brothers and just friends and stuff like that, they collect them all. They get them on eBay. My best friend Johnny, he has the entire rainbow
Oh,
except
wow.
that black one of one. And so on one of these breaks online, someone pulled my 101, and it was in New Zealand. And
Mhm.
so these guys, they hit me up like years ago,
Yeah.
and he said, "Man, I got to tell you, one of the guys from our live event,
Hmm.
he got your black 101." I was like, "Damn, like, is there any way I can buy that off of him? Can you talk to him? Like, I'll pay whatever," because I wanted to give it to
Yeah.
my best friend Johnny.
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, one of these days we'll get it, but when we come to Vegas, we want to hand deliver it to you. Otherwise, if you're ever in Australia or New
Mhm.
Zealand, then we'll do the same."
Yeah.
And then kind of stayed in touch here and there, but that was years ago. And so we actually went out there. Obviously, I fought in Perth, and then went to Sydney, and then we went to the South and North Island of New Zealand. And when I got to the North Island, they were in Auckland. So
Yeah.
I completely forgot because it was so far down in my messages. I couldn't remember the name. I couldn't, so I just tweeted about it like, "Hey, I'm in New Zealand. I'm looking for my 101."
Yeah.
And then everyone started kind of messaging me, and then I connected with the guy, and I I took him and his friend out to lunch, and it was like my best friend Johnny and me and our wives,
Yeah.
and then we're like, "Oh, we have to make this stop." So we met him at this sushi spot, and
Mhm.
I took him to lunch, and then actually from that event, I gave him posters from the
Mhm.
Islam, Volkanovski, and Yair and
Wow.
my fight, signed posters, gave it to them, and he gave me the 101. So
Wow.
it was cool. It was really cool.
That's awesome. I feel like the UFC is allowed, it says it's an individual sport. It allows you to have those fan interactions like that make it really, really interesting. Would you say as well?
Yeah. It's definitely different. Just because even like when we have our host hotel and stuff like that,
Mhm.
the fans find out where we're staying, and they'll go to the lobby, even though we have security. It's not like you would never see this with like the NBA
Yeah.
or the NFL, where fans are just like coming up to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's different, but I like it.
Mhm.
I love it. Like the reason why I'm doing this, because I was always the biggest fan of the UFC, and I've had my favorite sports athletes that I would do anything to get a picture with them. Like I would wait hours when I was a young kid or whatever it may be. So I know exactly how that feels. So, I will always take pictures, sign stuff, do whatever it is. I like to interact with the fans and stuff like that. And even just, my wife and I, are a passion of ours is traveling. Like we love to travel. So we've gone all over the world. And a lot of times if I'm like putting stuff on my stories or posting stuff, people will message me and like, oh man, I would love to get a picture or whatever. I said, hey, I'll be at this place at this time. Come on by,
Wow.
I'll buy you a drink. And I don't know. I just enjoy it, because the fans are what makes our jobs more fun. And that's without fans, like, would I be doing this? Probably not.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome to hear that you interact with fans like that, because not every fighter's like that. Not every fighter's like that. They kind of keep to themselves somewhat. So that's really cool that you do that with people. One more question before we get out of here. I got to ask about obviously where you're at right now, coming off the 5-year win streak, and now you're kind of rebuilding back up to be that number one contender. At age 38 years old, do you feel like this is kind of a last stand for you going for the belt? What do you expect from this fight?
Yeah, no, I feel good. This is the best I've ever felt. I have like the team dialed in now, so it's like I feel better than I did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I wish and I got into MMA later than most as well. So I haven't really taken a lot of damage. I don't fight and I don't look like I'm 38. I've been
Yeah.
told. But it's yeah, who knows? I think I have a handful of really good years left in me, but I only have a handful of I think I have a good 4 or 5 years left in me if I really want to just keep it going, because I'm so like good to my body and I take care of my body with the diet, rest, recovery, everything like that. But I probably have, like, to be honest and realistic, who knows, a year and a half, like run at the title at
Yeah.
the elite level. But I could fight for a long, long time to come. So yeah, I'm just looking to get in there with Ilya and just put him away. You know what I mean? Just go out there and fight my fight and do what I've been doing for so long, and yeah, come home with the win.
Absolutely. And depending on how this fight goes, would you want to fight again before the end of the year?
Yep, that was my goal. I wanted to have at least 3 fights this year. This is my second fight, and we're only halfway through the year. So, in a perfect world, I go out there, put them away within one round, and then turn around and fight again. And then in the coming 2, 3 months, you never know. Maybe I could get 4 in this year, but first I have to get through Ilya. First, I have to win. Yeah, I just have to win.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, we appreciate your time, man, and best of luck on the 24th in Jacksonville.
Cool. Thank you. Nice talking to you.
Pleasure talking to you as well. Have a great one.
All right. Take care.